Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel Java by MK. So in this tutorial I am going to explain one Spring Boot project. The project is already set up in my Eclipse. You can see this project. There are multiple projects in my project explorer, but I will explain this Spring Boot backend project. I will explain how Spring Boot works, how REST API works, how MVC architecture works, how all annotations works in Spring Boot, and how we run the application. And in this program, I have also MySQL connected in this Spring Boot project. So we will take the data as a JSON, and then we will store the data in database, MySQL database. In the similar manner, we will also retrieve the data from database and we will show in the UI. So let's get started. So you can see this is the so many packages already I have. This controller, exception, model, repository, service. So let me get started with the most important part. So this is the starting point of the application. When you start the application, this is the main. You know that in the main is the one which gets executed. So we have this run method which gets executed, right? So you can see in this annotation, this annotation you can see there are multiple parts of this annotation: Spring Boot configuration, enable auto configuration, component scan. So these three are important one. Enable auto configuration is important, component scan is important. So you know that Spring Boot works on the concept of uh, this inversion of control. So so that means when you start the application, a concept of this inversion of control happens. That means that whatsoever and class level annotation you use with component annotation, all those gets initialized in the while when you run the application. So that's the use of component scan. So you don't need to instantiate any class on your own. When in the runtime, all the classes with component annotation gets instantiated. And also you can see there are there are annotation like Spring Boot configuration. So this text configuration annotation, that means configuration annotation. So configuration and annotation is similar, that when you create a configuration class with bean annotation at the method level. So the any object created in the method level with bean object with bean annotation gets instantiated when you start the run the application. So this is the benefit of Spring Boot application, that you don't need any XML file to configure all the classes that you want to instantiate. Using annotation only will do your work. All you need to care about is to use the annotation at the right place, whether it is at class level with component annotation, or is it's using a bean at method level. Okay, so going ahead, you can see that this is one Spring application which we are taking. So let's go see. So this run method is there, which is inside this only. So this is the Spring application class. Okay, so there are multiple methods of it. Why I'm explaining these things, because when we work on any Spring Boot application, we get started and we are so much consumed in the application and use of Spring Boot that we don't give focus to it's how it works. So my main focus will be how it works and why Spring Boot, like these kind of problems. So you can see these many parameters, these many methods are there, and with time and with proper understanding you will see that how we can use these methods, because these methods are not generally used. We generally start the application, we generally configure the application, but we never bothered about how these, what are the inbuilt methods there for a Spring application. So you can see generally we use this run method, but there are lots of other methods that we will be using, right? So so now let's go ahead. So you can see this is the controller. You will see I will explain one annotation, every all the annotation. You can see this rest controller is having two controller and response body. So controller is just one and one component. That means when you instantiate any when you start the application, the this container will instantiate this class. Okay. And you can see request mapping. That means at the dispatcher servlet level, dispatcher servlet, you might have heard and and you must be knowing that this is the dispatcher servlet is the starting point of the application, and from there it will come to know that this API request mapping, request mapping hyphen API hyphen employees. So any request which comes to dispatcher servlet with this API will come to this controller class directly.